How you guys doing? This is Mark Karaki, Impact Africa Network. Yeah, today I wanted to share with you guys some ideas around startup survivability, and that really is, the number one challenge that startups face is time. You're always running out of time, and so that means that you have to pick your market entry point very strategically. One of the things that causes startups to run out of time is trying to be everything to everybody too quickly. Most people don't take the time to do a thorough market segmentation like research and deciding what is going to be their beachhead market and why. You see, because you're always running out of time as a startup, the choices that you make in terms of where, who, and where you're going to sell your product in the beginning is critical. So for example, it has to be a market that you can access easily without having to go through many loopholes. It has to be a market that you can quickly dominate, because if you can actually dominate a market, it's easier to sell to the next customer in that market. It has to be a market that, if you dominate it, can provide you a sustainable business model. And at the same time, it has to be also gotta be a market that if you can win that market, it will be referenceable to the next market. Let's take an example of schools. In schools, you have many different ways you can look at schools. You can look at high school versus primary schools. You can look at public versus private schools. So if you're introducing a product to schools, where should you start? The other way you can look at it is regional. Should you focus in, for example, Nairobi, or should you focus in, central, or should you focus national right at the beginning? All those things matter, because at the end of the day, you cannot be everything to everybody. Different types of schools, high schools and primary schools, have different needs and challenges. Public and private also have very different motivations, and even their decision-making processes are very, very different. So, you have to be very, your whole thing is you have to say, okay, fine, where can I actually achieve, ease of access to my customers, right, in an efficient way, and which market can I quickly dominate so I can be seen as the trusted advisor or the de facto solution for that market, which allows me to enter other markets because I have this referenceable market. And it can also provide me a sustainable business model. So I'm not stretched too thin trying to service customers all over the place, but I have a very focused approach in terms of who my customer is. And then what that provides you is what that requires is the ability to actually say no to some opportunities that may come to you too early, right? If you're a startup that's providing solutions for the education space, and you decided that you're going to focus in Nairobi or a city, and all of a sudden you've got an opportunity from a startup in somewhere in Western Kenya or maybe even some other country, the discipline of saying, I'm not going to pursue that opportunity right now, because that decision could actually be detrimental to the survivability of your startup, because there's something called the cost of servicing customer, cost of sales, cost of customer acquisition. You have to have a very, very disciplined approach in terms of how you go to market. Never underestimate that, because all you have is time, and make sure you use your time to your advantage, and don't be called all over the place.